Okay, you had that one coming. 11:7, dilations on the coordinate plane. So we've done translations, we've done rotations, we've done reflections. This is just another way that the shape is going to move on the coordinate plane. Okay. Now, if you think about the word dilation, time out. Let me get to my slide. If you think about the word dilation, what do you think about? Yes, everybody thinks about when their eyes get dilated. If you go to the eye doctor, okay, sometimes your eyes get dilated. Makes it bigger, but you know what? If you have a dilation, it can also make something smaller. Depends what's going on in the situation. So, a few things we need to write down first. I don't want you to write this first. I want you to write these two things up on top. 1, 2, and then we'll discuss number 3 in a second. Sure, but it's not going to help a whole lot. There's not much of a breeze, so. Nope, we'll talk about that in a second. You won't get it until we talk about it, so might as well talk about it before you write this one. Today, dilations can occur by multiplying each coordinate by a scale factor. The key word is multiplying. All you're going to be doing today is multiplying. Scale factor, they're going to tell you what that scale factor is. Okay, that leads us to the next point, dilations over one another and enlargement. So if I say we're going to enlarge something by 2, a scale factor of 2, is it going to get bigger or smaller? Bigger, right? That makes sense. If I say we're going to dilate something by a half, it's going to get smaller. Okay? Yeah, it's a reduction, it's smaller. Let's see. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Anything that's under 1. It could be most likely if it's going to be if you're going to be multiplying by a fraction, half, a third, 3/4, 5/8. It's always going to get smaller. Okay, anything a whole number and above 1, you're always going to get bigger. Okay, so which leads us to point 3. Now, how does this work? What they're going to do is they're going to give you a coordinate. Okay, and I'll show you a few different ways they're going to do this. They're going to give you a coordinate. So let's pretend this is my coordinate. I'll actually make one up. Say my coordinate for A is 2, 4. Okay? And they're going to tell me what the scale factor is. K is always considered the scale factor. So in this case, let's say K is 2. What's going to happen? Bigger or smaller? Bigger. Now let's find out what my new A is going to be. So I'm going to take my scale factor, which is K, and I'm going to multiply by whatever in my X. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm going to do the same thing to Y. 4 times 2 is 8. This is my coordinate then. Okay? It is pretty easy. So remember before in some of our rules it was, oh, only do this to the X, only do this to the Y. That's not the case today. It's going to be both of them. Okay? And I'll show you in a coordinate how it works, what's all going on. But we're going to start with just a simple example. Okay, so if you need an example, here you go. We're going to say this is a triangle on a coordinate plane, and I took off the coordinates for you already. And we're going to find what the new coordinates would be after we enlarge this thing by 2. So it should be pretty simple because it's a scale factor of 2, so it's going to get bigger. Now I'm going to take that 2 and I multiply everything by 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is, or 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 2 is 8, 3 times 2 is 6. Those are my new coordinates. You know what? They aren't going to give you a negative scale factor, but you might have negatives in your coordinates. I can do that too. I'll do that in the next one. I'll do that in my next example. What that? No, you're only multiplying. That's it. Hmm? Well, for the most part. I'm still going to show you a few other things, but this is the basis. Okay? So here's another example. Now this is one that you're going to dilate by a third. So if it's a third, it's going to get smaller. Okay? And you'll be able to see it in our new coordinates. So new K, new L, new M, new N. If you want to write it down, your K is good. Your scale factor is 1/3. So then you're going to say, okay, I want to know -6 times a third. Or you can say -6, 1/3 of -6. What's a third of 6? 2, -2. So -2. A third of 6 would be 2 again. What's a third of 3? 1. A third of 6 is still 2. I got a lot of 2's and or 6's and 3's. 1, 1. -2 and 1. You can even look at that. Look at my coordinates here, and then look at my coordinates here. Obviously, my thing is going to get smaller, because if you think about graphing that, it's going to be way smaller than what this one was. Let me pull up a Yep. Correct. Correct. Yep. But you're still technically multiplying. Okay, so don't get confused by that. I'm going to pull up a coordinate plane here. Let's see. Let me add. And we'll pick one off a graph here, because this is what you're going to have to do in your homework too. All right, so here we go. So let's say, here's my triangle. Here, here, here. Yeah, here, I hope that wasn't anything you're going to have to pick up. Okay, this is what you're going to have to do in your homework. They're going to give you a graph, and they're going to give you a figure on it. First thing you have to do is you have to pick off all the old coordinates. So B would be 0, 0. A would be, let's see, 0 and 1, 2, 3, 0, 3. And C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 0. Okay? So let's say my scale factor, let's say it's 2. We're going to keep it simple. Okay? Now we have to find the new ones. That's what they're going to do. They're going to give you this, and they're going to say, take off the old ones, find the new ones, and then regraph it. So let's find the new ones now. So today you're going to have to graph 4 of them for me. That's it. Okay? So this one would be 0, 6. This one would be still 0, 0. This one would be 10, 0. So let's graph the new one and see what it looks like. So A would be 0. So that's 3. So 6 would be here. A, and then this would be it right here. Whoops! Hold on. What were you going to say? Well, 0 times 3 is 0. Yep. What were you going to say? Oh, nope, I'm just going to start. I'm going to replot. I just knew that this was 3, so I went up 3 more. Nope. So do you see what's going to happen today? They're going to give you something. It's either going to get bigger or get smaller on your graph. Okay? And that's exactly what your first at least 2 are in your homework. They're going to give you a thing. You write the old ones. Then you write the new ones. Okay? Some of them you might have to actually think about. For example, this one coming up right here. Okay, so look at this one. A, B, and C. What's my scale factor this time? 1.5. So you might actually have to do some thinking in your head about 1.5 times 1. 1.5 times, you know what I mean? You're going to have to think a little bit. It's not all going to be hunky-dory. C is 8, 4. Okay, my scale factor is 1.5. Is this going to get bigger or smaller? Bigger. 1.5 is bigger than 1. Okay. So my new A, if you're not sure, do it to the side. Well, but you know 1.5 times 1. 1.5. And 1.5 times 3, well, if you don't know that, please go over here and do it. Please go and do it. Don't try to guess. Fair enough? Okay. Next one, let's see. New B is going to be what? 6, I believe. Oops. Is it 9? Yeah, it is 9. And then 8, 12, and 4. Did 4, 6. Right? So if you actually have to multiply, please do it to the side. Please. Don't try to sit there and guess. Please don't. Who are my guessers? Not going to work today. Fine. But not all educated guess is right. If you can work it out, once you want to get it right, like 100%, like right, not going to guess about it. Yes. That's my next example. That's my next example. Okay, so let's say he's asking me a question about a story problem. So let's say in your homework they give you an old figure and they give you a new figure, and you got to figure out what that scale factor was. Okay? So instead of going from old to scale factor to the new one, they're going to give you old, new. You got to figure out what the scale factor is. So the easiest thing to do is this, and I'll do an example for you. Okay? So you're going to take the old figure, the x of the old figure, the x of the new figure. Actually, new's on top, old's on bottom. Don't forget that, because I tend to forget that. And yeah, and honestly, you could do this. You could do both y's if you wanted. You don't have to do x. You can do y's if you want. You're going to get the same answer no matter what, because remember, your scale factor is consistent throughout everything. Well, let's say you have a. Your old a is 3, 2, and your new a is 6, 4. So then you say to yourself, okay, well, I know my x is in my first column and y is in my second. So I'm going to take these two right here. The first two or the second two. The first two would be the x's, second two would be the y's, right, in a coordinate pair. Okay. So what's my new figure? It would be 6, right? My x is 6. My old is 3. Well, I know my scale factor is what? 2. Okay? But be careful, because you might have something like this. Let's do A, B, oh, that's, old A, 18 and 4. New A, 9 and 2. What's my scale factor? It's not 2. Because what's my new? What's my old? You have to be careful. So I stumped the stumper. What's my goal? At least once. Notice how there was just a big uproar about when he said that. So careful about your old and your new. And here's a story problem that's like what Dylan's talking about. So if you want to see the story problem, here it is. Okay? A paper 8 inches by 11 is blown up on a copy machine. Okay, so I'm going to say that's my old one because that was the original. So I'm going to say my old was 8 and 11. That makes sense so far? My new is what? Whoa, 2 feet by 2.75 feet. What do you think I should do with those feet? Change them to inches. I got to have some consistency through the whole thing, because if I don't, I'm not going to come up with what I need to come up with. Change it to inches. So what is 2 feet? Okay? Anybody know what 2.75 feet is? You're close. 33. I knew Brian was working in Brian's head. I was just waiting to see if you guys could guess it. Okay, so here's the thing. This is what you're going to do. You're going to take one or the other, either your x's or your y's, and you're going to say, okay, the new one goes on top, right? The old one goes on bottom. 24 divided by 8. Guess what your scale factor was? 3. 3. Okay, do you guys have questions for me? No, because 33 divided by 11 is what? So that's why you really only need to take one, the x or the y's, because like I said, remember you're going to multiply both your x and your y by the same number? So it should be the same number. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? I want to get your homework out. Not your homework, your book out. Let's just talk about some of these before I